Hey guys, this is Earl from Virginia. Today I made a return trip to what I call the cabin site. I've only been here once, a couple months back, with my co-worker. His aunt owns his property, so this is private property. I got permission, but there's a lot of logging going on this year. So this flag is my property line. Got a couple other ones going down through here, and I'm trying to. Last time I was here, I got 3 Civil War bullets. This place is in the middle of nowhere, but the bullets I got were back over there. I did get a piece of melted lead. Just trying to suck in the sight right at the moment. See if I can find this piece. I did get a piece of melted lead. No big deal. It could be modern. It was up there where I found, but I think there's 2 rings right there, 3 rings. Got this up there where I found 2 of the bullets last time. Walking through real quick. I'm just trying to get a feel for the site. When we were here last time, it was so thick you couldn't get around. It was like this. But in this back part, right on the edge of our property, they've been doing some timbering very recently, probably within the last month. And trying to see if I can find any hot spots. I'm getting ready to walk this ridge back up towards the top, because most of the bullets I've been finding, or I did find, were up there along the road. The road's right there on top of the ridge line, and so I wanted to hook up back there around the ridge and walk back up that way. This is Earl, Virginia. Truthfully, this site is about 1.5 miles due south of my chimney site. My chimney site, if you went over this, actually, you can see that ridge right in front of me. That's Great North Mountain, but there's a rock face right up there, not too far, about a 1/4 mile up. If you follow it straight across and go north, my chimney site's about 1 mile, maybe 1.5 miles at most, that way. Some of the ore pits I was telling you about are on the power lines, which is between here and the chimney site. And that's probably about 1/2 mile to 3/4 mile away. So I'm not too far from the chimney site, and trying to find some new places to dig. Turkey season starts in 3 weeks. We already know there's turkeys up here. And I think my first opening day is going to be with Ryan. We're going to be hunting up here he'll probably be doing shotgun. I'm going to be doing bow. Not in this. We'll have to go up here on the fringe up there where there's not too, it's not as thick. You can't tell from here, but it's not as thick up on that western slope. But we got a nice little creek, bubbling creek. Last time we were here, this creek was pretty much dry. And that's where I found the turtles, back over there. Alright, this is Earl later. Try a live dig here. It could be trash. But I get about 72, 74. Could be a can. We'll see. I'll make an attempt at a live dig. Ugh. That's a better signal. Let's change to 62. It's probably definitely a bullet now. And it's out. It's in here somewhere, so it's shallow. Pretty much everything in here has been shallow. Yeah, there it is. Modern bullet. Oh well. Later, guys. Alright, I was going to do a live dig and it didn't. But my hole's about 6 inches on the A2 Pro. Another Garrett Carrot A2 Pro. Garrett Carrot. But I think it's going to be a drop, and I should have done a live dig, but I thought that last was bottom, but right here's my target. And it might be a modern slug, even at that. I'm pretty sure it is at deep base. As it turns out, this is going to be a modern slug. It's got a deep base, and the rings are real wide. And it's got rifling going up the side all the way around. And it does have 3 rings, 1, 2, 3, but that's a modern slug. So we'll move on, see what else we can find later. All right, guys, I'm at see, Civil Earthworks. This one is Star Fort here in Winchester, Virginia. We're on the outer wall, looking northeast. Oh, I'm sorry, northwest. And the material that was in here was used to help build the berms up there. Plus, there was rifle pits that surrounded it on the other. I think they're pretty much gone. The dirt from there was also brought in for the fort. But I don't know if you can read this. I'll kind of stop over it. This is some of the legs of the stars in the pits. This fort's been on numerous hands. Right now it's protected on a battlefield easement. I think it's... Can't remember exactly who owns it right now. But this fort is called a star fort. It's shaped like a star. I think it's an 8-pointed star. And it's hard to believe after all these years. There's been a dozer when they were building houses over there. A dozer breached the one wall over there. Guy came up here, supposedly the story was, took his lunch break and just busted right through the berm on the fort over there. I'll show you that in a minute. They got some mock huts. The bottom half's probably about right, but they got platforms like sleeping. I'll show you that in a minute. This is pivotal in the Second Battle of Winchester. This photo here was actually a photo, I believe this is the fort, or it could be Fort Milroy. I know there was one photo taken from Fort Milroy looking at Star Fort. I think this one is shooting from the hill of Fort Milroy, which is that way, which is south east of here, about a half mile. I'm sorry, the trees away, about a half mile. I believe this photo was taken on the ridge of Fort Milroy looking at Star Fort right here, which is this berm, and there was a road they had. Oh, actually right there it is. There was a road that went from Fort Milroy to Star Fort. But I'm pretty sure this is Star Fort. This is Fort Milroy, the edge of it. Alright, we'll take a look at these mock huts they got here. I think the base walls are pretty fairly accurate. They got a fire in the back and the sleeping platform on top. I don't think that would have been the way they'd done it. I think it would have been more like the hut you see at Fredericksburg and Culpeper. You had a firebox on one end, and they've had their racks would have been set up here on the either the floor, slightly off the floor on the sides, and the fire had been on the end with a barrel or a stone if they could get a hold of it, or bricks if they had some dwellings nearby they could tear down and use. But a lot of times they did them with the 55-gallon wooden barrels, and then they rocks on the bottom and the barrel on the top of the stack. It caught fire, they just kick it over, put another one in. I don't think the fire would have been in the box like that and then sleeping on top. I think sleeping here and the fire on the end. Here's another one I got set up. Take you up in the fort real quick. So there's 1, 2, 3 legs of the 8-sided star. Right here, there's 1, 2, 3. There was rifle pits dug out. They're long gone. I know years ago, before they started developing this, there's American Red Cross down there. We were able to dig on that property, and there were some rifle pits on the edge of that property we got to dig on. They're real shallow. But I would figure that, looking at this thing, shallow rifle pits have been out there, and if they had to use these would have been used as well, in my thoughts. Alright, here's the bulk of the fort. Some deeper bunkers. I don't know if they were ammo bunkers for their ammunition. I wouldn't think their ammunition would be inside. I think their ammunition had probably been stored outside. But here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 points to this star. Kind of hard to make them all out. There's this one deeper hole. Now they could have had this bunkered in with a shelter over it, and there might have been storing their ammo here as part of it, and there's another deep bunker over there. Could have been the same thing there. I would think though, if they're going to store their ammo and their powder, especially their powder, probably one had ammunition, one had powder. I would think the powder would probably be on the edge of the berm, close to the berm, very deep in the berm where it has the protection. I don't remember if this was breached by the dozer. I know that spot over there on the other side of the trash can was the original place, but I think what he did, I think he actually came through there, sat here, ate his lunch, and he might have breached this one too. That was about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's about the only damage that's ever been done to the fort. Here's another one, talking about the Second Battle of Winchester. It was kind of pivotal to that. One, two, three, four, five. Actually, I'm sorry, 6 points to the star. Here's Star Fort. Here's Milroy. This map's out of position though. This would all been rotated like that in reality. There's West Fort over here, which I've never actually seen. It's on private property. And then Fort Collier would have been about right over here. So they've been 4 altogether: West Fort, Star Fort, Milroy, and Collier. All within probably about a mile of each other. And this is that road I was telling you about, Milroy, where that picture was taken over there. Had an access road that went straight from Milroy to Star Fort. Those are the 2 key forts in the town. West Fort would have been, it's going to be hard to see even with the trees down, but that ridge top straight ahead is where West Fort would have been, on top of that ridge over there. The rifle pits that we've seen were down over there, probably about 100 yards, really close, fairly close to the road, probably about 20 yards off the road down there, but the shallow rifle pits were down that way. There wasn't as many rifle pits put on that side as there was the perimeter going that way, and I never actually ever seen those pits. I think they've been gone for a long time. So this is actually a 6-point star. I was confused, I thought it was 8. Here's 1, 2, 3 spots right there. It's like 4, 5, 6. This side's kind of jagged out a little weird. It's not a perfect star, but it's close. Another sign down here I've never seen. So. Pretty cool place as a kid. I used to ride early in the day when 4-wheelers first came out. 4-wheelers used to run up all through here. They used to do jumps off these berms. Been a lot of damage to this place. I'm amazed it's still got this much detail left. It's been tried, it's been cleared once. Nick Narangis, I think, had it for a while. There was an artillery group out of Pennsylvania, that a reenactors group that owned the property for a while. I think during that time, Narangis and that group cleared this place out. Then it regrew with this scrub. And there's been several Boy Scout projects, Eagle Scout projects in here to clean it back up, put these trails in, and these signs have been added. And also there's a historical, I think it's Shenandoah Valley Civil War Preservation is actually the keeper now. I might be off a little bit on that, but there's Milroy. He was running out of town, 2nd Winchester, and he actually blew up Fort Milroy that night. Tried to hold it here. Alright, here's if you know where National Fruit is in town, Fort Milroy is in behind it. It was blown up. There's Star Fort, there's West Fort, and I believe that's Fort Collier right there. It's not actually marked, but I believe that's what it is. It's kind of like a star too. It's like a three-pointed star with an open end. Actually, the house was at the one end of the fort. And like I said, I've never actually seen Star Fort. West Fort, and it had a gun rampart separate from the main fort, so it was actually two parts. And it borders 37 nowadays, comes right about through here. So it's up on top of the ridge before you get dropped down on 522. And Sheets is there. There's a big hotel right here now. 37's there, 522's right here. And this is all private land, so I've never actually seen that. Alright. The rifle pits I was telling you about. I wish there was one right here. They're not too far out. It's about down, right down in there. It's kind of broken, but they're real shallow. They just look like divots in the ground. Just enough for a person to lay in and have enough earth in front of them that their kind of body would be covered from shooting. And then that'd be your first line of defense. And then I guess if they have to withdraw, then they would draw back in the fort. And like I said, I would actually figure a second line of defense, which would be a better place for the riflemen, would be in this trench. And I'm sure that's what was going to be used for as well. As you can tell in front of the points, they're pretty deep. But if they were being fired upon, which they were a couple times, that would be the target, so it'd be a bad spot to be if you were a rifleman. Alright, last sign. This concerns the third battle Winchester and the closing of it. The Confederates tried to use this to act as a last line of defense for the closing of the battle, which is primarily at Fort Collier, which is that way. But if you read this sign, I'll tell you a little bit about it. There's another map of Winchester again. Here's the bulk of the town. Fort Milroy. West Fort had been over here. Old Fort, which I think is actually Star Fort. Stevenson Depot's up there. This map is actually wrong. They show the railroad tailoring off, which is kind of critical. That was a flaw on one of the map, and I can't remember. I think can't remember who did this map, but the railroad does not turn there. It actually follows the pike up for a little bit further at that. But tells a little bit of story here of Colonel James N. Schoonmaker. And he got a Medal of Honor for 3rd Winchester, trying to take this fort back. You can tell here he made a cavalry charge. This is supposed to be the fort, and Confederates were in this with 2 cannons and a mounted cavalry group, mounted artillery group. I'm sure. Sorry. And he made 2 attempts at attacking the fort head on. Lost a good amount of men, but he ended up receiving the Medal of Honor for his duties that day. That's about that. Alright, let's try to swing around back. There's another story yet. Well, I'll give you 2 stories. Before this development got in here, this is all houses. This used to be all fields and scrub. And where this road is now used to be a dirt lane. The town party spot used to be over there. You go to the top of the hill and drop down. They drop down the gully, and there used to be a lot of field parties back here back in the day when I was a kid, and that was the late 60s, early 70s. But we could metal detect that when they did that. There wasn't a whole lot out there where the houses were, but there was a lot of grape shot and stuff along the road, and I got some of that. And that's when we found the rifle pits. They were down there closer to the American Red Cross, right adjacent to the road, not far out. But this is that spot I was telling you about where the dozer busted through. And like I said, I believe his other exit was that place over there. So he came up for his lunch and busted right through the berm, and when he left, he went through the other side. people found out about it. They went crazy, so needless to say, didn't get to break it down anymore after that. Used to be a lot of trash in these pits too, so they've done a lot of cleanup around here. But the other story is, I'm going to take about 15 minutes. I'm not going to show you the whole time. When I was a kid, there was always a story about a cave up here. A cave that helped store ammunition, and possibly when Milroy destroyed Fort Milroy, and he might have stored some ammunition and guns and stuff in the cave. Well, funny part is, I always thought that was a bunch of bull malarkey. But when they were building this development, we were detecting there's an old stone wall down at the bottom of a ridge. We came to a flat down here, which I'm going to try to find now. Actually, I think Bo's coming up maybe tomorrow, sometime this week. He was supposed to come up last week. We were going to try make an attempt to rediscover this cave. But there's a flat spot, and I'm afraid what has happened is when they built these houses, it's got wiped out. But when we were metal detecting down on that stone wall, there was a limestone ledge about 3 foot high. It ran about 100 yards, tapered down to the ground, and then it went to a flat. Well, then that flat, we started finding some PVC pipe. Well, come to find out, there was a 2 foot diameter pipe that went down the ground with a grate cover. It did have a cave in it. And we tried to get in that day. We couldn't. We didn't have the equipment because it dropped down about 8 feet. And you had to go through this 2 foot tube, which is about 3.5 feet through the tube. And we didn't have any way to get in and get out. But I found it amazing that that cave truly existed. And sometimes you often wondered about local stories. Are they true? Are they not? And I would like to say yes, this cave was part of this fort. I doubt it. It's possible. Like I said, where would you put your powder? That's a pretty small fort. I tell you what, I don't know if I want to be inside if I had all my powder stored in there and I was getting shells. I'll tell you that. Most of the time they were outside or bunkered pretty good within the fort. Like I said, there's 2 deep holes. Probably one was for the shells themselves, and one was probably for the powder charges. But I often wondered, since Bo's been doing these caving shows, if that cave down here had anything to do with this fort. Alright, I'll see y'all. I'm gonna try. I got about half hour to look for this thing, so I'll see you.